Story number 1. So back when I was in 10th grade, my dad had this absolutely insane habit of pooping with the bathroom door wide open. No shame, no hesitation, just full confidence, like he was some kind of king on his porcelain throne. And the worst part, it was the bathroom right by the front door. If you walked in at the wrong time, you were done for one night. I went out with some friends and smoked way more weed than I should have, and I wasn't just high. I was on another plane of existence. My brain was working at like 2 frames per second. My thoughts. Asterisk, asterisk, scrambled, asterisk, asterisk, my motor skills, asterisk, asterisk, non-existent, asterisk, asterisk. I was fully convinced that if I just walked into my house calmly, everything would be fine. I stumbled through the front door, barely functioning, then boom. There's my dad, asterisk, asterisk, sitting on the toilet, asterisk, asterisk, door wide open, asterisk, asterisk, in all his glory, asterisk, asterisk. And that's when my brain shut down. I froze completely. My legs, asterisk, asterisk, useless, asterisk, asterisk, my mouth. Asterisk, asterisk, unable to form words, asterisk, asterisk, my entire body was just standing there stiff as a board, staring at him like I had just seen the face of God. And then asterisk, asterisk, he looked up, asterisk, asterisk, slow, suspicious, the kind of look that immediately told me I was screwed. Are you high? He asked, and I swear in that moment, asterisk, asterisk, I forgot how to function as a human being, asterisk, asterisk, I could have lied, that I could have kept walking, that I could have saved myself. But no, instead, I just stood there, trembling like a terrified raccoon, and whispered the single dumbest word of my life. Yes. The second that word left my mouth, it was over. That I watched as my dad's expression shifted from suspicion to confirmation, and in that moment, I knew there was no escape. He knew, he won, I was done for without breaking eye contact. He reached for the toilet paper, wiped at lightning speed, and stood up way too fast for a man who had just been mid-poop. His pants were up before I could even blink. And then, asterisk, asterisk, he moved. Asterisk, asterisk, not like a normal person. Asterisk, asterisk, like a trained assassin. Asterisk, asterisk, before I could react. He lunged at me, snatched my phone straight out of my pocket like he had been practicing for this exact moment. And in the same breath, he pointed upstairs. Go to your room. His voice, asterisk, asterisk, demonic, asterisk, asterisk, my body. Asterisk, asterisk, refused to move, asterisk, asterisk. I just stood there, still high out of my mind, asterisk, asterisk, processing the fact that I had just locked eyes with my dad mid-poop, and then confessed to being high like an absolute moron, asterisk, asterisk. But when he took a step closer, my survival instincts finally kicked in, that I stumbled up the stairs, tripping over my own feet, heart pounding so hard I could hear it, that I made it to my room and collapsed onto my bed, my brain running at Windows XP, loading screen speed. And then, asterisk, asterisk. Boom, 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 asterisk, asterisk, loud knocks on my door, open up. I opened the door and there he was, standing with my phone in one hand and my car keys in the other. You're grounded. He said it, I nodded. No fight, no excuses, just acceptance. Then he dropped the real nuke. No phone, no CAR, no friends. And we're drug testing you this week. Oh, my God, that I wanted to argue, that I wanted to fight back. But I was still too busy processing the fact that I had been caught in the worst way imaginable. And then right before he walked away, he hit me with the final kill shot. I knew you weren't smart, but I didn't think you were this stupid. BRUH, that wasn't punishment. That was a soul-crushing insult that would haunt me forever. For 2 weeks, I was on lockdown. No phone, no CAR, no life. Every time I made eye contact with my dad, I could see it in his face. He was holding back laughter, fully aware that I had ruined my own night in the dumbest way possible. And the worst part, asterisk, asterisk, he was right. Asterisk, asterisk. If I had just walked past him like a normal person, none of this would have happened. But no, my high self had to stop and death stare my father while he was mid-poop, as if I had just witnessed an ancient ritual, asterisk, asterisk. To this day, he still brings it up just to roast me, and I have to sit there and take it, because honestly, I deserve it. Story number 2. I was engaged to a woman. I had gone to college with someone. I had spent years with someone I thought I knew better than anyone else. For 3 years we lived together. Everything was normal. Nothing seemed off. We had our own routines, our own way of handling things. We split bills evenly. We had separate finances. We respected each other's independence. Everything was fine until I proposed. And then suddenly everything changed. At first it was subtle. Little things. She started expecting me to cover meals here and there. Even though we had always gone 50-50, she'd say, "Oh, you're my fiancé. Now isn't this what a future husband does?" And I didn't think much of it. At first I figured maybe she just wanted to feel taken care of. I mean, we were getting married, right? Maybe this was normal. Maybe I was just overthinking. But then it escalated. She started expecting me to pay for everything: shopping, trips, nights out, gas, groceries, even things she wanted for herself, things I had nothing to do with. I asked her what was going on. Why was she acting like this? And she looked me dead in the eye and said, "This is how it's going to be when we're married. You should start getting used to it now." I should start getting used to it now, like she was training me or something. Like this was a test I was supposed to pass. But the problem was I never signed up for that test. We had always been a team, partners, equals. But now it felt like she didn't see me as a person anymore. Just a wallet, just an ATM with a pulse. And That's when I started to see the cracks. I started noticing other things like how she talked about marriage not as something we were doing together, but as something she was getting out of me like it was a prize she had won a lifestyle upgrade. And I was just the vehicle to get her there. I started asking myself, was she always like this? Did I just not see it? Or did she change? Was this always in her? Or was I just blind? The doubt started eating at me. And it wasn't just about the money. It was about everything. I started noticing how she spoke to people, how she treated waiters, store clerks, people she thought were beneath her. She had this way of smiling at them, but it wasn't kindness. It was a mask. And when she didn't get what she wanted, that mask slipped, and I saw the real her, the impatience, the entitlement, the coldness. And once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. I realized I was about to marry a person I didn't even recognize, someone who saw me as a provider, not a partner. And the moment that hit me, I knew I had to end it. I sat her down. I told her this wasn't going to work. I told her I couldn't be with someone who saw me as a paycheck instead of a person. And you know what she said? She didn't cry. She didn't argue. She didn't even ask why. She just sat there for a second, then shrugged and said, well, I guess this was a waste of time. And that was it. 3 years together, 3 years of memories, of love, of planning our future. And she called it a waste of time, like I was just a failed investment. Like I didn't matter at all. And the worst part, the absolute worst part, was that even though I knew I was making the right decision, it still hurt. It hurt like hell because I had loved her. I had built a life with her. I had imagined growing old with her. And now I was watching it all shatter right in front of me. But I walked away. I left. I moved on, or at least I tried, because the real gut punch came later when I found out she had moved on. Immediately, she was dating someone new. Within weeks, someone who had money, someone who fit the exact lifestyle she had wanted from me, and it made me sick. It made me question everything. Had she ever really loved me? Or was I just the best option at the time? Was she just waiting for something better? And when she got it, she didn't waste a second. And then not long after, they got engaged and then married. And that's when it hit me. She didn't waste any time, because to her, I was never the love of her life. I was just a stepping stone. I was just a phase, just a chapter in her story. And once she found the next chapter, she turned the page without a second thought, and I was left there alone holding on to a book that was already closed. And I'll be honest, it took me a long time to get over that, not just the breakup, but the feeling that I had been played, that I had been used, that I had wasted years of my life on someone who saw me as disposable. But you know what? Looking back, I dodged a bullet. Because now I know love isn't supposed to feel like a transaction. Love isn't supposed to be a test. Love is supposed to be two people choosing each other every day for who they are, not what they can provide. And that wasn't what we had. And I thank God every day that I got out before I signed that marriage certificate, before I locked myself into a life with someone who only saw me as a means to an end. So yeah, it hurt, but it was the best decision I ever made, because now I know what real love looks like, and it sure as hell isn't what we had. Story number 3. A guy I knew took a job in Kansas City instead of Dallas because he wanted to be with his girlfriend. He was having trouble finding an apartment because he has a German Shepherd and breed restrictions exist. At the last minute, he found an apartment that let German Shepherds in, so he signed without coming to see it. A couple of days before he moved in, his girlfriend cheated on him and they broke up. So he moved into this apartment in a city that he didn't want to live in, but he moved in across the hall from me, his now fiancée. He told me later that when he first stepped into that apartment, he hated it. The kitchen was smaller than he expected. The carpet had a weird stain in the corner. The neighbors were loud. And he kept thinking about how none of this would have happened if he had just gone to Dallas, where he had originally planned to be. But life has a funny way of working out. He had barely started unpacking when he heard a knock on the door. He opened it, and there I was standing there, holding a plate of cookies. I had seen him moving in and figured he looked like he could use a warm welcome. He thanked me, kind of awkwardly took the cookies and shut the door. I thought, well, that was weird, but okay, maybe he's just having a bad day. What I didn't know is that he had just gotten off the phone with his ex, trying to get closure, and failing miserably. He sat there staring at the cookies for a while before deciding that maybe Kansas City wasn't the worst place in the world. A few days passed, and we kept running into each other in the hallway, in the parking lot, at the mailboxes. At first, it was just small talk. He told me about his dog. I told him about my job. He mentioned he didn't know many people in the city, so I invited him out with my friends. At first, he hesitated, but then he agreed. That night, something changed. He laughed more than he had in weeks. I saw him relax for the first time since he had moved in over. The next few months, we became inseparable. We would go on long walks with his dog, grab coffee on lazy Sunday mornings, watch terrible movies just to make fun of them. One night he told me the whole story about his ex, how he had uprooted his life for someone who didn't value him, and how he felt like he had made the biggest mistake by coming here. I told him maybe he hadn't made a mistake at all. Maybe he was exactly where he was meant to be. He looked at me for a long moment, and then he kissed me. It wasn't some grand romantic gesture, just something simple and Right, like it was meant to happen all along, and now here we are years later still in Kansas City planning our wedding and laughing about how he thought moving here was the worst decision he had ever made. Turns out sometimes you have to get lost in the wrong city to find the right love. Story number 4. I used to work the night shift as a train operator for the city's subway. The graveyard shift was always eerie, empty stations, flickering lights, and the occasional late-night wanderer stumbling aboard, but nothing compared to what happened on November 12th, 2022. That night, I was on the 3:15 a.m. route. As I pulled into the last underground station before the train looped back, I counted the passengers. Through the rearview mirror, there were exactly 24 of them. I always counted. It was a habit I developed. For safety reasons, the doors closed, and I continued the route. A few minutes later, I glanced at the mirror again. There were now 25 passengers. I frowned, thinking I had miscounted. Maybe someone had been obscured by a seat, but the number nodded me. I decided to do another count at the next stop as the train pulled in, and I watched people exit. I counted again. There should have been fewer. Now still 25. A chill ran down my spine. My stomach twisted. I turned to my seat and scanned the car through the small operator's window. The passengers sat in silence, some staring at their phones, some dozing off. But something felt wrong at the next station. A few more people exited. I counted again, still 25. My throat went dry. I checked the security cameras, rewinding to see if someone had somehow reboarded. Nothing. My hands gripped the controls tighter. As I continued through the tunnel, the air felt heavy, suffocating. I had to see for myself at the next station. I made an excuse over the intercom. Routine check. Everyone remained seated. I stepped out of the operator's booth and walked through the train, my eyes darting from face to face. There were only 24 people. My heart pounded. I swore I had seen 25 in the mirror. I shook it off, chalking it up to exhaustion, and returned to my seat. But as the train plunged into the darkness of the tunnel, I glanced at the mirror one last time. There it was, the 25th passenger. It sat in the very last row. Face obscured in the dim light, my breath hitched, my hands trembled over the controls. My instincts screamed at me to stop the train, to get out, to run, but I couldn't. I had a job to do. The next stop was the final one before the turnaround. I kept my eyes on the mirror. The figure never moved. As the train came to a stop, I held my breath, waiting for people to exit. One by one, they stepped off, and as the last of them disappeared into the night, I counted again. I shut the doors and bolted to the back of the train, my heart hammering in my chest. The seat was empty, but there was something left behind. A single damp handprint on the window, smeared as if someone had been staring out, waiting for something or someone. I never worked the night shift again, but the story didn't end there. A few weeks later, I ran into an old colleague at a coffee shop. He still worked nights. We chatted for a while before he hesitated and leaned in. Have you ever noticed something strange on your shift? He asked. My stomach dropped. What do you mean? He stirred his coffee, glancing around as if making sure no one was listening. A passenger, one that doesn't belong. I felt the blood drain from my face. You've seen them too. He nodded slowly. Not just me, a few of us. Same thing. Every time the count is off, then it isn't like they were never there, but someone always finds a mark, a handprint, a shadow in the reflection. Something. I swallowed hard. Who is it? He exhaled sharply, looking me dead in the eyes. No one knows, but rumor has it started after a passenger disappeared on a train late one night years ago. The conductor swore he never saw anyone get off, but they found a single damp handprint on the glass. I shivered. That night, I dreamed of the 25th passenger. In the dream, they were sitting in the last row, staring directly at me. But this time, I could see their face, and they were smiling. The next morning, I woke up to a notification on my phone. It was a security alert from my old train station. A motion sensor had been triggered in an empty subway car. I tapped the video feed, opened. The footage showed a train sitting in the dark, abandoned on the tracks. Then, for just a moment, the lights flickered, and in the reflection of the train's window, I saw it, the 25th passenger, smiling at me. Story number 5. This happened a few years ago when I was still in school. When I started secondary school, there was this guy who showed up every day, but he wasn't in the same course as me or anything. He would arrive at school at the same time as me and was always, and I repeat, always walking through the hallways, even during class hours. This led to some moments that I still remember to this day. The first one was in 10th grade when there was a field trip for all the 10th grade classes, all of them science, arts, humanities, etc., about 500 students. In total, a few days after the trip, the school posted around 10 photos on Instagram. The pictures were of different students taken from a drone, like perspective, some of the trip location, and so on. But there was one single photo that had only one person. It was him, walking without even noticing that they had taken a picture of him. Another incident was when a school staff member came into my classroom to read out the names of some students who needed to return the school's laptop, or something like that. She was listing names from my class, when out of nowhere she said his name. Everyone in the room was like, "Who's that?" But I knew exactly who it was. The staff member's papers were all from students in my class, except for one which had his name on it even though he was in a completely different class. It was the only paper there by mistake. The staff member looked confused. The next occurrence happened 3 times one day. I didn't have my first class because the teacher had warned us that he wouldn't be coming, so naturally I arrived at school later. But at a time when classes were still in session, about 10 minutes before the bell rang, I was calmly walking up the ramp, enjoying the fact that there weren't hundreds of people moving in all directions, when I saw him walking alone in front of me at that completely random time in the morning when hardly anyone else was around. This happened 3 times. One of those times was in the afternoon when I went into the school just to use the Wi-Fi, since I was nearby and needed it, and there he was sitting on a bench at a completely random time long after classes had ended. Now here's one of my favorites. At my school there was an open-air sports field in the back with no roof, no net, nothing in that area. There were classroom windows facing the field, and people sitting by the window could watch the PE lessons. I was in my PE class when I saw a classroom up high with the curtains open. I looked up at the window, and there he was sitting by the window watching the lesson. Out of all the classrooms that had windows facing the field, he was the only one watching from that high up classroom. After spending all of 10th and 11th grade seeing him everywhere, things didn't get any better. There was a school event held in a small auditorium outside the school, and since it took place during class hours, only the students whose teachers allowed them to go attended. And guess what? Almost every time I went during my 3 years at that school, he was there. One time I was walking up the stairs to the auditorium, and he was standing at the top staring at the people coming up, creating, without a doubt, a dramatic effect. It also happened a lot that a teacher would be absent, and my class would go to the common area only to find him already sitting there. Whenever I went to random places in the school, he was there. Moments when I was walking up the stairs, and he was right in front of me. I won't even mention the almost daily times I saw him walking down the empty hallway while I was in class, sometimes going in the opposite direction of the bathrooms. I could see it, because for some reason the classrooms had a section made of glass. Whenever I was heading to the gym for PE, there he was. It got to the point where I stopped telling my friends that I had seen him, because I didn't want to sound repetitive. There was no escaping. The fact that he always wore the same yellow jacket didn't help either. And interestingly enough, he had the same name as both of my uncles and the male version of my mom's name. I had some friends who said the same thing. He was always showing up for them too. In short, this guy appeared in every possible place. Fortunately, I never ran into him outside of school, otherwise I would have started to have some serious suspicions.